Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast alongside the man, the myth, the guy that they've got all over Jones AT&T Stadium, Lyle Leong Jr. And listen, this is the crazy part. This guy doesn't have an ego, but look at the hat. You can't tell me he didn't make his own hat in terms of his initials. I'm kidding, obviously. But welcome into the Back to 12 podcast. We've got a jam-packed show today. We're going to be talking about Texas Tech having a new opponent on the 2024 schedules, reportedly switching out the Oregon game for another, I guess now former Pac-12 team. Got a ton of Texas Tech Red Raiders hitting the portal. We'll get Lyle's reaction to now 7 Texas Tech pass catchers in the portal, his thoughts on some of the guys that have went in and just the overall wide receiver position and as in general, just because, who better to talk about wide receivers than, again, second all-time in touchdowns at Texas Tech. And then we'll discuss some of the wide receivers we could potentially be seeing for Texas Tech in the bowl game. And yes, people, before we get too far into this, Texas Tech is going to have plenty of players for the bowl game. Please stop asking me. Just please, Lyle. That has been the biggest comment I've gotten. Yes, I don't think people realize, Lyle, there's 120 guys on a football team in college. This isn't the NFL where there's only 53 guys and then 12 on a practice squad. You almost double it. But anyway, I digress. How you doing, my friend? It's been a while since we've talked.
Yeah, man, been a minute. And, receiver positions like basketball, everyone thinks they can do it and everybody wants to do it. So, yeah, you're definitely right. We got tons of those guys around and, it's just good to be back. We've been gone, kind of doing some I guess family stuff and home stuff. So it's good to get back on here and talk. I think it's some good things happening and like we always talk about, I think it's the new day and age, the new football world. So we'll get into it as we go. But I think people got to understand that's the new way of the world, and so it's people got to understand, like I said, if you could get a new job right now, you leave to go get a better job. I mean, we all do it. That's the name of the game. So I think we got to remember that as people too, as much as we want to, I love Texas Tech with my whole heart. No place I'd rather be. But, University of Idaho offers me $2 million. I'm out. I love y'all. I love the red in the back, but bring on the potatoes. You feel me? So,
that's the real reason I would move. I mean, could you just imagine the kind of the French fries and how fresh they are up there,
bro? I mean, not even that. And I'm not a big breakfast person, but I do like the
the hash browns,
the hash brown stuff like that. Man, I can only imagine.
You a potato guy or are you a string guy?
Potato. I'm not a huge potato. I'm probably a mashed potato dude and a fried dude, but I'm not a huge one of those. But that's probably the only thing I eat. Like even the little, I don't even like hash browns. I like the little square joints, not the
like McDonald's.
Yeah, I like those, and I like the ones you could buy in the bag. They're like kind of the fat.
Oh, square. I know which ones you're talking about. Yeah, they're I call them country hash browns. I know that there's another
like
term for it.
The little stringy joints. Nah, not a big fan. And
really? Well, as you Amazon is going off behind me right now. So hold on real quick. Hey, Alexa.
While diced and pan-fried potatoes are called country fried potatoes or home fries and are served.
Home fries. There we go. Alexa, let us know.
See, they need to fix this stuff because she all in our conversation. I don't appreciate that, man.
No, that's first and foremost. I apologize for Alexa coming on. Second of all, I actually appreciate her for the sheer fact of they're called country potatoes. We were right. Country fried potatoes. There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Alexa. I guess I don't know for interrupting it. Anyway, I disagree with you on that though, Lyle. I disagree. I'm the string guy when it comes down to it. Yeah.
It's tough.
But I digress since Alexa just kind of tried to take over the whole conversation. Typical Jeff Bezos behavior. But let's jump into speaking of the Pacific Northwest, where Texas Tech will be playing next year in the Pacific Northwest. It will not be in Eugene, Oregon. It will now be in Pullman, Washington, according to John Canzano, Now, I want to preface this. This is a report. The Texas Tech Athletic Department has not come out and officially announced this. However, this is what is said. There hasn't been an official announcement, and Texas Tech Athletic Director Kirby Hocutt, after Canzano's report, told local media working towards that, but not final yet. Still, at the very least, Washington State versus Texas Tech in September of next season is seriously gaining some steam. Now, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, Don Williams, Carlos Silva Jr., all those guys who do great work covering not just Texas Tech, but high schools, as Lyle will know, out there in the Lubbock area, they are reporting that Texas Tech would get an extra $100,000 to play in Pullman next year, and this game would replace the Red Raiders matchup in Eugene against what looks like to be Dylan Gabriel, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, transfer portal, in the Oregon Ducks.
Wow.
So your initial thought here, Lyle, in terms of I think it's very safe to say before we hear from you, like this is a drop in competition pretty majorly, right? Like you're not playing a top – I would assume Oregon's probably a top 15 team at worst next year. But on the positive side, you are getting a little bit more money. You do keep a rivalry alive. I understand that aspect of it. But then also you're Texas Tech. You put yourself in a better chance to win another football game.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think it's got some cool aspects to it, on both sides. I think, Oregon State, and if I'm an Oregon fan, I'd rather see Oregon play Oregon State than Texas Tech. So, from that aspect, I think it gets more money. I think more people come, more people. It's a bigger deal, and I also think Texas Tech playing Washington State has some ties. Of course, because of Coach Leach. I think that's kind of like, it's not. I don't want to say rivalry because it's not, but there's ties to it that will make it a cool event, a cool game. And I think that's, like I said, I think, does it help Texas Tech in a sense? No, I really don't. I think if Texas Tech beats Oregon, it does a lot more than if they beat Washington State. I feel like if we beat Washington State, we're supposed to. If we don't beat Washington State, it's a deal where we should have won. Versus Oregon, we're not supposed to win. So if we win, it's a win. If we lose, it's a win in a sense. Because that's kind of like, just as long as we play them good is really what people want to see. I mean, we all want to win, but, last year playing them close, people weren't pissed off about the situation. They're like, man, we was right there. We had an opportunity to win. Versus if we have the same opportunities and don't win at Washington State, it's going to be a little different conversation, I think, moving forward. So I think, the winner in that clearly is Oregon. I think for us, we win in a little sense of getting the money, making it a more winnable game. But like I said, I think the downside to that is huge because, like I said, if we don't win, man, and Washington State is not a sorry team to top it off. So that's the thing people don't understand. Washington State was in some games. They won a lot of games this year, and they were in some games. Their last game, I forgot who they played, or maybe in two games, maybe in Washington or Oregon or whoever they played. Washington, they were right there with them. Played them tight. Yeah, played them tight. So I think, that's one of those things. It's going to be where we're supposed to win tough, but it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a good game, but there's a lot of good to come out of that. So I think it's a win for both schools, but I think, like I said, the overall who got the better deal in that is Oregon. I think we kind of take Oregon's spot with Oregon playing us like Oregon is supposed to win. If they win, good, they're supposed to win. If they lose, then it's a big loss for them to lose to us. So I think we just flip and kind of take that Oregon approach against Washington State. And I think Oregon still, I mean, whoever they play, it's the same for them. If they lose to, Oregon State, it's a problem. If they win, they're supposed to win. So yeah, I think for them it doesn't change, but for us it kind of changes in that aspect.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, I mean, it does kind of suck for Texas Tech if we're just being honest about it. I'd much rather play the Ducks than the Cougars. Like, that being said, there's also that old school college football in me where it's like I love rivalry games, even when they're not supposed to be close. Perfect example is the Iron Bowl. Alabama now in the playoff. We'll talk about that here in a second too. We can get our thoughts on Florida State because I guarantee you Lyle and I will disagree on that front. Auburn lost by 20 the week prior to the Iron Bowl to New Mexico State. Like, and then if it wasn't for a 4th and 31 play from Jalen Melrose to Isaiah Bond, who, by the way, has the coolest TD celebration in college football. He just goes, that's dope as hell with the last name Bond. Anyway, Auburn wins that football game, right? Like, and that's the thing. I just love rivalries. So there's a nostalgic aspect of this to me in the sense of like, awesome. The Civil War gets to continue. That's fantastic for college football. I will say this. You were talking about Washington State. They're going to look vastly different just from the sheer standpoint of Texas Tech may have one of their wide receivers. I've talked about it in a video here on the channel, Josh Kelly. If you want to hear a scouting report on him, you can go watch a prior video here on the channel. He may be a Red Raider. He may be a Fighting Irish as well. Who knows at this point? They aren't going to have Cam Ward. And for those that don't know who Cam Ward is, dog.
You know who discovered him?
Dog.
You know who discovered him?
Hold on. Is it one of your former teammates?
Indeed.
Is he a head coach in the state of Texas now?
Indeed.
Does he really like the same color of money? Is it that guy?
He's under 5'8".
Yeah, is it that? Yeah. I think it's
he loves
I think
Christmas.
some people call him emo.
Yeah, and elf.
Yeah. No, I was talking to my buddies last night about this, and we're getting sidetracked a little bit. If Cam Ward ends up at Ohio State, and it sounds like that's the smoke, he will be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft. The kid he's a sicko. He's a sicko.
I had to disagree kindly.
Well, we got a year and a half to talk about that, brother. But that's kind of where we're at on the Texas Tech Washington State front. We'll talk a little bit more about the wide receivers going in to the portal for Texas Tech here in just a second. We're 50 new subs away from 9K though.
Woo! Let's get it.
No, that's a big number. That's a big number right there. Help us get there. Let's do this before 2024. Help us get to 9K. What do you say? Come on,
folks.
Just hit that sub button. We got Lyle back on here. It's been a minute. He'll give you his expertise on the Texas Tech wide receiver room here in just a second. But hit that sub button for us. Like the video. Do all that good stuff if you enjoy the content here. And if you enjoy the third host of the podcast, Amazon just coming in here all crazy and stuff.
Shout out to Alexa.
That was awesome because they're always listening. You know what I mean? They're always listening. Real quick, before we do get into, and I say real quick, this could actually be like a 15-minute long tangent, knowing us, Lyle. The college football playoff. You're shaking your head. You're not going to like what I have to say, but I'll let you go first. Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong?
It's
Hear me out.
BS. It's horrible. Committee people should be slapped. If I could see them, I'd slap them all 4 in the face. I'd line them up and tell the O-line not to block and let Florida State's defense ramsack them and rub their sack on their forehead. That's how I feel about these slaps. You know what I'm saying? It's sad, man. You got people that don't have a clue. Like you can't like these dudes have fought. They're in a Power 5 conference. They're undefeated, and you're gonna tell me they're so okay. Let's put it in perspective. So the NBA, right? We got the Lakers go to the championship. LeBron gets out. Let's take them out. Let's take the whole Lakers out because Bron is not in there. Like that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They play with the second string quarterback, 1. Play with a third string quarterback against the top 15 team, 1. To me, that means the team is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So my deal is like, let's just tell everybody if your player gets hurt, you know what I'm saying? If the Alabama quarterback gets hurt in practice before we play, let's take Alabama out and trade them in. So, I mean, like the only Power 5 team in history to not get in, man, you're cheating kids, man. Like, it just pisses me off. You're cheating kids. You can't say a team is better. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a team is better, then you should be undefeated. Alabama played Texas. Alabama lost. Alabama shouldn't be in. It's that simple. It's that simple. But instead, it's about money. And the thing is, the kids don't get none. The kids ain't even getting that money. It's going to other people. So I just think like it's crazy. You got a bunch of people, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But there is like the people that's talking. I've never been a part of 11-0 team in a Power 5 conference and play team after team after team. Whether Clemson is in the top 25 or not, Clemson is good. Duke is good. Like usually the ACs are some slappies. Like they beat great teams and they still won going through what they went through. Like, and it's crazy to me how that works, man. And it it kind of takes me back to like Tech when we were number 2 and we played number 5 OU. And we didn't get moved back to number 5. We got moved back to number 18 or 17 or whatever we got moved to when we lost to OU. And they do this at Alabama. Alabama was number 8. They skipped 4 people. And it's just like, bro, like it just come out and say it. Like I'd rather them just come out and say, hey, man, we want to make more money, so we're putting them in. Don't come out and lie to these kids and say they're the better teams we chose. Mother sucker, how do you know? Like, how do you know who's better or not? Anytime you step out on the field, you can beat somebody. So the whole they're better, they're the best right now, it's a bunch of slaps saying that. And it's crazy to me, former players and guys that have said that. And it's the same people, if they were at Florida State, would have the most to say that are sitting up there, well, they're the best team. Okay, let your team go 11-0 and be in the Big 12 and not get in. I mean, it's just so that's my thing, man. At the end of the day, like, what are we playing for? Like, it's turning into just money, and that's all it's turned into, and it takes away from kids. Like I said, to think about it, like to be at Texas Tech and think I can go have a perfect season and not get in. That is crazy. Like, what do you play for? Like, if a quarterback gets hurt, you could go perfect season, your quarterback get hurt and not get in, or your receiver get hurt. Like, well, what are you playing for? Like, what's the purpose of being undefeated? What's the purpose of winning your conference? Like, everything that they just did takes away from what football is about and what you're working there. Like, the only team ever, I could see if they done this like before, but this is the only team ever that did not get in there. Like, and you're gonna say because their quarterback got hurt and that they're better. Like, and then the other argument I have is, well, we seen blowouts. We seen blowouts every year. What's the problem? Why change it up to an undefeated team? We watched TCU get blown out last year. What's the issue? We watched the year before Alabama blow somebody out. So it's just as a former player, as a coach, it's kids, man. They bust their butts off. They went through, adversity to be in this situation, and then they do silly crap and then show them on ESPN when they know good and well they ain't getting in. They gonna show their face on ESPN. Oh, they look pretty pissed. Well, yeah, they damn right they're pissed. Like, why do that? Why show the coach? And that's just so foul, man. Like, if you're gonna screw them home, don't show them and then tell America, well, man, they're pretty pissed. Yeah, I would too. Like,
Yeah.
I wish we could do that for every sport for the rest of this year. Like, let somebody get hurt. Let's take high school football. Let's let Duncanville go to the state championship and their quarterback get hurt before and take Duncanville out and put whoever they played before because they're not the best team anymore because their quarterback got hurt. Like, what are we teaching in athlete? Like, what are we teaching? What's the point of this when this all comes down? When you do stuff like that, you put it so to me as a player, I'm taking it as, well, we suck. We got one player that's good on this team. Everyone else is trash, even though we're 11-0. And it's just like if it was people that did it. And don't get me wrong, I know people are gonna be like, everyone can't play. I know Twitter people, calm down. I'm not taking shots at anybody. I know what y'all are gonna say. Okay, but I'm just saying you got guys in there that don't fully understand, I believe, don't fully understand what it takes to go 11-0 in them conference. If we're in Conference USA, I tell you this all the time. We're in Conference USA and we're talking UTSA that goes 11-0 in that joint. Yes. Skip them. All them one-loss team, Georgia, skip them. They need to be skipped. But you're talking about a Power 5 that still ought to play Florida. Florida's not the greatest, but Florida is Florida. They don't have slaps. You know what I'm saying? Like there's teams that they had to play that they beat that I felt like were pretty good. And at the end of the day, man, you're screwing kids. You're screwing the thing that we fought for. Because like I said, man, you fight to be undefeated. You fight to, and you're taking away from kids. And it's just like next year, like, what's the purpose? What as a coach, I think about that. Like, what do I tell my team? Guys, we're undefeated. We did everything we're supposed to do, and we don't get in because we're not the best team. Like,
well, that's the interesting part, right? Like that's the part to me that, because again, I think the committee actually got it right. And the reason being is this: I went in with the mindset of, and you mentioned it pretty early on there, and you're good tangent, by the way.
Thank you.
Money. You think they were going to leave an SEC school out of the college football playoff?
Exactly.
Are you crazy? Like, listen, and also here's the thing, rightly or wrongly, I'm looking at it right now. The college football playoffs, it's number 2. This is their principles. Okay, I'm just going to go each bullet point. There's 5 bullet points here. It says before the bullet points, the selection committee will select the teams using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering conference championships won. Obviously, Florida State has that. Alabama does too. Everybody in the college football playoff won their conference this year. But there was one that was left out. Obviously, it was Florida State. Strength of schedule. That's a big one. Alabama and Texas, they were both top 10. Florida State was 55. Head-to-head competition. You had Texas and Alabama. Obviously, Texas won that. They're at the 3. Alabama's at the 4. Comparative outcomes of common opponents without, incentive margin of victory, the BCS crap, right? All right, that doesn't really do anything here. But the last one, other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. And again, I want to say this. I think there's 2 things can be true, and I know people are going to come at me, and that's fine. I think the committee got it right, but I also feel like shit for Florida State. And the reason being is this. I'm an odds guy, right? Like, I'm an odds guy, and I get it. Odds are not what happens on the field. You're more of the I've been there on the field guy. Like, I know what it takes kind of guy, which is great.
Time out. No, bro, not to cut you up. No, I'm not on the field guy. My thing is they have 1 loss. If Florida State have 1 loss, no discussion. But I'm saying I'm not on the field guy. They won all their games, and these other suckers didn't.
In a worse conference.
But it doesn't matter. They're Power 5. They still played Clemson, who is not a slap. They still played Florida. You can't because we said it in the Big 12. Anybody could beat anybody any week, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, except for Texas.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, even Texas has some close games. So, like, I get the strength of schedule. I get that. But we're in a conference where Texas Tech was ranked horrible, but they'll play somebody good. Kansas played Texas good, and they're not. And so, to me, like, I get strength of schedule, right? But we talk about it all the time. Like, anybody could beat anybody. If Clemson was in the Big 12, they would have gave Texas a run for their money. They would have beat teams. So I get the strength of schedule, but to me, what's the biggest difference? Texas played Alabama. Alabama played Texas. That's what puts their ratings way up. So we're talking 1 game, which is a big game, right? But you have to pay for that too. So they're reaping the benefits of playing that game, but they're not getting the negative part of that. The negative part is when you play a game like that, if you win, bam, you get to get in. If you lose, the negative part is you're out. Like, you got 2 teams in that played each other. You know what I'm saying? And they get all the props for that, but they don't get the negativity that somebody lost.
Who has the best win, though, this year in college football? It's Alabama, right? They beat Georgia.
Right. But they lost to Texas.
I think that's far more.
Can't be in.
I think it's far more impressive in terms of if you look at the overall win, right? Like, and again, I'm not saying just one specific win should, catapult you over, right? There's levels to it. But the win that Alabama has, albeit on a neutral site against Georgia, is far better than any win that Florida State has this year. And they played LSU too. Alabama beat LSU. I think this is really what it comes down to for me, though. It's like, again, I'm an odds guy. And rightly or wrongly, you can say, hey, I use my eyes and watch the games too and everything. And I think everybody would say that's realistic. Florida State is not as good of a team right now without Jordan Travis. I think that is a, no shit kind of thing, right? Like, you lose your starting quarterback, you're probably not going to be as good.
Let me ask you a question. Would you put a year's salary that Alabama would Florida State right now? You feel that confident?
Oh, I think they would. I think right now Alabama would be, if you told me the line, I bet Alabama's 12.5, 13.5 point favorites.
No, I'm asking, would you put
that they win? That Alabama would beat Florida State?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You think that would just kill them?
Yeah. I think Georgia would too.
I just think it's apples to oranges. You can't like there's
But that's the
teams,
thing. We're guessing. That's the
and that's
issue
what
here.
I'm
Like
saying.
I
Like,
think that's why we have to go by the metrics and the thing that they have in front of them in
but they're
terms
still
of these
guessing.
principles.
They're guessing within that metric, though. You can't. You
No, I
can't.
agree.
You
And maybe
can't.
they need
So
to change the metrics. I can admit that. But what
I'm
they
just
had in
saying.
terms of the criteria, I'm okay with what the committee did.
So they need to add in the criteria. Your record don't matter because it doesn't matter. That's what I'm getting at. Like,
I think what they need to do, honestly, is just remove the last one that I mentioned, which is other relevant factors, because that is such a broad paintbrush, right? Like that's the thing that covers their ass.
or take off conference champions, or take off overall record, so people know. Because
Well, one conference championship. The thing is if Florida State got in, you're still going to have one of the conference champions out, right? Like
but
this
we
system.
goes back to record. Put record in there. Their record is better. It like I said, if you're a
The
power
crazy
five,
part, record doesn't matter on here.
but that's what. But I'm just saying they need to add that on there because they're
Sure,
the
I can agree
only
with that.
team, right? They're the only team that went undefeated in a Power Five conference that didn't get in.
Yeah,
So
I could agree with that.
So
I'm
I'm
just
just saying they
saying.
need to add that so kids know. Because like as a head coach, I'm telling my guys, Power Five conference. If we win this conference and go undefeated, we're in. You need to put on there, no, you're not in. Like that's a big thing for guys you strive for to go undefeated. Like that needs to be in there. And like that's what I'm saying. It's just like you got the same. If you got conference champions, one's undefeated, one got a one loss. They're both Power Five. Like you. Like it just takes like how can you like a kid getting hurt? I get that, but also the guys behind them. You know what I'm saying? At Alabama, if they did this, it wouldn't happen. The guys behind them are 4 stars. It's not like they're 1 stars. It's not like we're at Texas Tech where we go from we got strong in there, and then that's not it. These are guys that are 4 stars that are top recruits, and it's like that's what you recruit for. You recruit these guys to get, and you can't like. What's the point? Like like you have to.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, first and foremost, I do find it extremely funny from the ESPN side of things, how they were conducting their business when, in all honesty, they're really to blame for all this if you look at it. But from the money side of it, it really comes down to this for me. Like, they weren't going to leave an SEC team out. They weren't. They weren't going to do it. Like, simple and plain, they were not going to do it. And if you think otherwise, you're wrong.
And that's what I'm saying. But they could have left Texas out.
They weren't going to leave Texas out. Texas is the thing is why would they? Where's Texas going next year?
Right.
That's better for ESPN. You have, and again, this is all conspiracy theory stuff. And the aspect of this too is this, right? Like, Texas is every team that the 5 teams we're discussing right now, right? Like in terms of Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State. I don't think you'd hear anybody say that one of those teams isn't deserving to be in, right? All of them are deserving to be in. I think everybody can agree with that, right? Like, the problem is you have to pick which one is more deserving. And if you go by resume, like, I get it, the 13-0 aspect of it, I truly do. This is the aspect that I think people are not taking into account enough when they look at it from why the committee went this way. It's that last bullet point. And that's the paintbrush that is just so broad that I think you have to clarify it or just remove it entirely, in the sense that, yeah, like, Florida State is not the same team without Jordan Travis. Like, let's just be honest about it. Like, right? Like, they're not. They're just not. That doesn't mean that they're not a great football team.
And that
doesn't mean. Yeah, again, I agree with that. But at the same time, you have to understand it from this standpoint too. Ratings. People aren't going to watch Florida State with a backup quarterback get their ass kicked more than likely against Michigan. There's a reason. Perfect example. You want to know how I know the committee got it right? And we can move on if you don't have anything to say after this, Lyle, which I'm sure you actually will. You know how I'm sure I know the committee got it right? Look at the reaction of the Michigan Wolverines when they said that Alabama was in the college football playoff over Florida State. Look at it. Michigan went, oh, fuck. I guarantee you, if they would have seen Florida State, they would have been like, let's go. Because they know they get to face a backup quarterback. And again, what is the most important position in all of sports?
Without a doubt, quarterback.
It's quarterback. And so I think you got to take that into account as well. I mean, maybe I'm just naive and maybe I'm just looking at it by the letter of the law too much, which is fine. Because I totally understand your point too. And listen, I'll say this. I'm in a group chat with about 20 Texas Tech fans. I think there was 2 of us that said the committee got it right. And I was getting roasted for a good 3 hours straight. So I get it. I get I'm in the minority on this, but I don't know. I think this is going to be the best college football playoff we've ever seen. And I don't know if we could have said that if Florida State was in, regardless of if they were 13-0.
Yeah. And like I said, I ended, like I said, on this same thing. I mean, as far as ratings, as far as games, cool. But I just, like I said, I hope, man, I just feel like each year, man, we're taking more and more away from what college sports are about.
Agreed,
Like
wholeheartedly.
we're taking away, money. I get it, but they should get paid. My suggestion, I told you a long time ago, they just need to raise the per diem that they get. That's it. They didn't have to take it to the extreme, but whatever. But like I said, I just think it takes away the integrity of the game. It takes away what kids are working for. It's no, like I said, man, it's just if you can go undefeated and not get in, like what are you working for? Like
I wholeheartedly agree.
And I like I said, man, I just hope and I know we're going to 12, but like I said, man, I just hope that they kind of get back to getting it right and it doesn't turn into this. Well, this, what I'm saying, this quarterback's better. It's too, a team, I just, like I said, I just think people put stock into there because there's times where Appalachian State beat Michigan. You know what I'm saying? No one in America thought they would win, but you play the game to get an opportunity to get a chance. And like I said, for those guys to overcome and continue to win, like their defense to me is
it's
great.
elite.
Florida State's elite.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. And like I said, defense wins championships. So I just feel like, I just hope for the integrity of the game because like I said, kids put their life on the line for this. Kids bust their butt and kids, and so like I said, I just hope it doesn't turn into like I know it's always been about money, it's still about money, but I just hope it doesn't we get 12 teams next year and 8 of them are SEC teams. Like I just hope it doesn't turn into that where it's like, hey, we want to see OU and we want to see Texas because they're SEC teams, even though they're probably not deserving. And I just feel like we're at this point where it's starting to turn to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just feel like,
I mean that's it. I mean, there's going to be 2 power conferences and then the Big 12. Because I think that the most impactful thing like that happened with Florida State not getting in, I think it just accelerated the process of the ACC disbanding. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I think about that all the time. Like, how many Final Fours and Elite Eights have teams played in that lost their best player and won? And so I like I said, man, you just never know. And I just feel like there's times where people step up. Like those quarterbacks are good quarterbacks. That's why they're recruited at Florida State. So you never know. It could be a star. And that's the time to come out. And you're cheating them the opportunity. And like I said, man, we've watched people get whooped every single year. And all of a sudden this year, they're like, we don't want to see. Well, we watched it the last 4 years. So I just think, you're kind of cheating kids the opportunity to become themselves, to be, we could be a household name from a dude that comes through. One of these quarterbacks, backup quarterback, wins these 2 games, household name, top dude. He's probably transferring out of Florida State and going to wherever he wants to.
Well, no, he'd have the job next year because Jordan Travis is out of eligibility.
Right. But, nowadays people get 10 years, so he could find a way to be back. But I'm just saying, if he comes back, like, and it's just like, you got to give those people an opportunity, man. And like I said, I understand for ratings. And if they really couldn't decide, do something different, have a play-in game, whatever the case may be. But you got to give those folks an opportunity, man, especially when that's been the rules for so long, or not say the rules, but people have gotten in for so long. And like I said, my only issue before we move on is just, like I said, it just comes to, I understand strength of schedule, but to me, it comes to, you got an undefeated team and you got a team that lost 1 game. And like I said, my argument is totally different if everybody's 12-1. Everybody's 12-1, cool. But at the same token, like I said, you choose to play those games in preseason. If you choose to play the University of Alabama or the University of Texas and you lose, you pay for it. If you win, you get all the glory. But like I said, I just feel like right here they got a pass to play each other. It's like they played each other for fun. You know what I'm saying? There's no consequences to their loss. There's no consequences like, to that. And so that's the only issue I have is just, whereas like I said, we got punished when we played OU when we were number 2 when we got beat. Granted, we got our ass whooped, but we went back to number, 20.
Whatever
19.
you went back to, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, it's one of those things. If you're gonna be the same every year. And like I said, if they did this every year, cool. You know what I'm saying? If they took TCU out last year and put somebody else in, cool. I wouldn't be having this conversation, but they didn't. They let all the other teams get whooped and get an opportunity, and then these kids, it's just so it is what it is. And like I said, I'm still excited to see those games, but I hope they stop being hoes.
I gotta love the last remark there. Let's transition back to Texas Tech football, though, because I know a lot of people. We're about 35 minutes into this. I'm just gonna let you go talk for about 10 minutes, Lyle. I'm just gonna set the scene, and you can talk about it because there's nobody better in the space in terms of the wide receiver aspect of it. Wow, working on your fitness. It's ridiculous.
Shout out to Patty Mahomes behind you.
I thought it was
Patty was talking to me, so I just showing some love there.
I thought. Never mind. I'm not even going to say the song that I had in my mind when I saw that. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay.
Shout out to the best national anthem singer of all time. If you know, you know.
Whitney Houston?
No, that was purely sarcasm on my
bad. That's
that's fine. It's fine. I'll forgive you this one time.
Yeah.
Texas Tech football has now 7 pass catchers in the portal, 11 total offensive players. Joey McGuire has come out and said that you'll likely see more of redshirt freshman TJ West, DJ Crest, and Kelby Vaslin, in the Independent Bowl. Again, one more time, I talked about it earlier. People, they got plenty of players. They'll be all right. They can play the football game. It's okay. Also, Texas Tech only has about 13 guys in the portal right now. That is way less than the national average. So just keep that in mind, people. But Lyle, we've talked about it all year long, right? In terms of this wide receiver group, and the latest 2 names to enter are Loic Fungi and JJ Sparkman. You've got guys like Jerron Bradley. You got Price. You got Nehemiah Martinez, York. Just to name some of them, right? In terms of who is in the portal right now. For Texas Tech. And then obviously the last one, might as well just get all 7 of them. TK King. Tyler TK King, I should say. What's your initial thought and overall feeling of what's going on right now with this Texas Tech wide receiver room, right? Because you and I have talked about it. I mean, they weren't good in a lot of ways. In your opinion, what is this? Is this like the writing on the wall type situation for these kids where they see some of these guys that are young, up and coming that Joey McGuire brought in himself, the Micah Hudsons of the world, DJ West, Crest, Volson, whoever it is, right? Like some of those guys, Coy Aiken, like those are the guys that they brought in, and they're seeing the writing on the wall. Is it a competition thing? Like, just floor is yours, my friend. Let us know.
Thank you, my brother. Those that watch on YouTube, if you can see, it says Money Town, Money Town, Money Town. So it's just about money now. I'm sure that it's got a little bit to do with performance, in my opinion. I don't think Coach McGuire or Juice or Kid, any of them guys tell them you need to get out of here. But I think that, they kind of, raised the bar like, hey, this is unacceptable. This is what we got coming in. This is what we're going to go with. And I think any coach has that mindset. If you're not going to win, if you're not going to, I'm going to play a younger player that's going to come up and do a good. I'm not going to keep playing older players and we're not getting the job done. So I think it was a little bit of both. I think there's places that these guys can go, maybe get some more money. I think also, like I said, some of them haven't produced how they thought they would produce or should produce, and I think they're just looking for other opportunities. So, from my standpoint as a kid, if I was playing right now, I can't say I would stay. If someone called and say, "Hey, man, we'll give you 500,000 to come," I probably wouldn't be here. I love everybody at Texas Tech, my favorite place in the world, but it's all about money now. It's about who's kind of reaching out to you, making you feel like you're that person. And like I said, man, I think it's a normal thing. Like you said, we're underneath the states. We're underneath the state average, or not the state average, the national average. Sorry, of transfers that are in the portal, and that's just a common thing that we got to learn. But I think the best thing of all is it's people entering the transfer portal that we struggle with. Like you said, it's our O linemen entering, it's our receivers entering. That was probably our two weakest groups out of the two. So I think it's a little bit of both. Guys trying to get an opportunity, and like I said, man, it's just the world we live in. It sucks. It's sad. Just because it doesn't teach kids to stay and fight, and that's one thing I feel like college football really did for me when I got there. Behind Crab and Eddie Britton, and it was Jared Hicks when I first got here, Joe Filani. Like, you couldn't leave, and so you had to fight through and do that. And now as kids don't want to fight, kids don't want to get through it as well as money. So from my standpoint, I think it's a kind of like a match made in heaven, as people say. You got a group that we're struggling in that get another opportunity to go maybe do something, and we get an opportunity to bring in some new cats. And so, like I said, man, I think they, I think they're cats that can grow. I think they're not bad receivers, but we're in an elite conference for what's known for throwing. So being okay, being good is not it. And I think that, in my opinion, besides Bradley, I think these dudes go down. Not to D2 by any means, but I think they go down out of Power 5 school, in my opinion. I really do. I think Bradley gets to go to another Power 5 school because he's 6'5" and can run. But I think the rest of these dudes, honestly, I could see him being at North Texas. I could see him being at no shade, Emo. I love you, but I could see him going to North Texas or a smaller D1 school. Austin P going back. So I just think that those guys. I think that's a level they're on, in my opinion, or what I saw this year. Not to say that they can't go get it done, but like I said, you got to produce in this league, man. This is people's jobs at stake. This is Coach McGuire, Coach Kitley. Like, they got families and stuff, and that's what people got to realize, man. It goes two ways. This is kids' lively. Some for these kids, they ain't got nothing at home. This is what they got, so they got to have an opportunity. They want to be the man, and for them in that aspect. And then these coaches. There's a lot of head coaches, when they get fired, they never get that opportunity again. So it's a legacy on the line that's super important on both sides. And I think they're kind of coming to a medium. And like I said, I feel bad for just the world we live in now. I think so far there's 2,100 transfers in the
There's
portal.
going to be over 3,000.
How much?
There's going to be over 3,000 if it's anything like last year.
Yeah, and so it's just getting to the point where kids don't realize too, and for those at home that don't know, just because you enter the transfer portal doesn't mean you get picked up. And so, and once you enter that, you have the option to come back. But speaking for me, as a head coach, if you leave out, well, you can't come back. So I think most coaches kind of feel that way too. But it's just a lot of kids that get out there and look for opportunities, and they're not there, and they end up, for the young ones, end up at JUCOs. And like I said, I got JUCO friends that tell me all the time, and they got numbers right now. Like, they'll have four to five Power 5 receivers that'll be on their JUCO team next year. And so I think people just understand. Even my guys, got a guy Incarnate Ward, called about another kid that I coached that I really like. Say, hey man, I got this kid. He's like, well, I got 6 more ahead of him from Power 5. So we'll put him on the list and let him go. So I think it's one of those deals. Like I said, these kids, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. But I understand it too. And like I said, some of these kids got kids of their own. They got families that they're helping. So money is important. And like I said, man, I don't blame them, because like I said, you get one opportunity to take advantage. And like I said, if someone offered me 500,000, I'm gone. So I think it's a kind of one of those things, match made in heaven, but more so for these kids. I just hope they find a place wherever that may be, because like I said, there's no coming back. And You know, I know it'd be a horrible feeling to say, man, I had a scholarship at Texas Tech and I left to go somewhere else and ended up with no scholarship. So it's the world we live in, and I think people got to realize that too. You know, and these kids, that's what it's about. Same with Tyler. You know, to me,
Good for him, man. Good for
yeah,
him.
I'm super happy for him, like we talked about. But you know, in reality, what does he get out of that besides getting paid? I think he might have been the starter coming back, maybe not. But
I think he just gets. I think Tyler's a little different from most of these guys, just from the sheer standpoint of. I think he's the clear-cut guy at Louisville, and I think it was just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to say it became stale. This is just how I'm interpreting it, where it was just like, all right, if not now, then when for Barron? You know, like you can't let Barron wait another year, potentially, right? So, I mean, from the wide receiver standpoint, I'll just be honest. I've said it in multiple videos, Lyle, and I've said it on social media too. I thought the wide receiver group and the offensive linemen as a whole, that those two positions and those groups needed the biggest overhaul this offseason. And it's not a shot at these guys. It's just go watch the film. You and I have talked about it. There were games where it looked like, oh, okay, they did some nice things. Let's give them their flowers, right? Like there were some games where I was like, damn, that's a great play. You look great today. But then the next game, that same player that looked fantastic the game prior has a catch. And now, let's be real about it. Some of these wide receivers, it's not all their fault. The offensive line, if you're not good up front, you can't do much, right? But at the same time, they were struggling with separation. I think that was your favorite word throughout this whole year. And I think now it's kind of this – I think it's this situation for me personally with the Texas Tech wide receivers. We're going into year 3 of Joey McGuire, right? I want to see his wide receivers. I want to see what the guys that he recruited can do now, right? Like he played guys where Bradley was on the team before he showed up.
Right.
On the team before he showed up. White was on the team before he showed up, right? I want guys now where I want to see, okay, you're talking about this speed and physicality aspect of things, right? And when it comes to these wide receivers, go get these track stars. All right, let's see this shit. Like that's kind of how I am. And that doesn't mean it's going to work. It does not mean that, right? But I want to see what they've got in terms of, I'm telling you right now, I'm excited about TJ West. That guy's got 4.3 speed. He's burner.
Yeah. Okay.
DJ Crest, big body guy on the outside, really kind of reminds me of an Eric Izakama type guy, right?
Shout out there.
You got Kelby. He's kind of the do-it-all guy. He's just kind of that prototypical dude where you look at him and it's just like, yep, that guy's a wide receiver, right? Like those are the kind of guys, right? And I know I'm only talking about 3 of them, but then you got to remember the guys they're bringing in this recruiting class. And I'm telling you right now, Micah Hudson is going to be the starting slot wide receiver for Texas Tech next year. And if you think otherwise, stop it. Get some help. Michael Jordan meme. Anyway, he's going to start.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy like Jackson coming in, Trey Jackson. Love him. He's 6'4", 6'5", big body dude. You just throw it up in the air. 50-50 balls become 70-30 in his favor, right? Then you got a guy in Turner. I'm not exactly sure if he's going to play on the offensive side or defensive side. He's a athlete kind of deal. But this is one of the best recruiting classes from a wide receiver standpoint that Texas Tech is bringing in. And it obviously helps to have the best recruit of all time in Texas Tech program history when you at least look at the metrics and everything and the scouting services and everything, and Micah Hudson, right? But for me, you got guys like this now going into next year, and you're going to add guys too. Let's be real. You're going to add wide receivers, whether that's from the Power 5 or some of these guys from the, mid-major level that just balled out, and let's see what you can do at the Power 5 level, right? As we both say, it's a brand new ball game there. But anyway, you're going to have guys like Coy Aiken back. Stud. Love Coy Aiken.
Yeah, me too.
You're going to have Jordan Brown back, a guy that I think is one of the more underrated players on this roster in terms of if he wasn't hurt this year for a stretch, I think he probably would have got more snaps. You lose a guy like Xavier White, obviously he'll be in the bowl game for you. But then you got TJ West coming back, Crest. Then you got Paulson again, and then you got a guy like Aiden Meeks potentially. Like, you got plenty of wide receivers, and you're going to add probably 2 in the portal, I would guess. You're going to be fine at wide receiver. I'm not worried about that. The thing that I'm more interested in seeing, what the hell do you do up front? Because I want to see a guy like Nick Fatigue, right? Like, I want to see that guy. He's literally an Olympian in terms of weightlifting. And you have him on the offensive line. Ellis Davis coming in. I think, again, probably my bold prediction, Lyle, we haven't even played the bowl game yet, but my bold prediction for 2024 is you have Ellis Davis and Nick Fatigue on the starting offensive line for Texas Tech next year, 2 guys that are a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. And I think they're that good. I think you're going to see basically the influx of McGuire guys now, of, those guys that we've heard about. And now it's one of those situations from the wide receiver standpoint where, again, I want to preface this. I don't know if it's going to work. Lyle don't know if it's going to work. They don't know if it's going to work, but I do think that I like the skill set that these guys bring in more for a Kitley offense than the ones that were on the team prior. And that's no shade at those guys. I hope they land on their feet and everything. But again, I've said it multiple times. These positions needed an overhaul. Wide receiver was one of them. And I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, right? In today's college football landscape, like, you can overhaul a position group that quick. And I think that's what Texas Tech is doing. And you're going to see some of these young guys play, and the names to know are TJ West, DJ Crest, and KV out on the outside. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the Independence Bowl. But overall, I mean, I've had people ask me, Lyle, oh, should we be worried Joey's losing the locker room? It's like, no. Weren't you the same people that were complaining about wide receivers all year?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I think Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Relax.
Hey, I love you in my whole heart, but this best receiver class, you got to calm down.
I'm not going to calm down. I'm going to stand by it.
It's no. Micah, maybe, because he's
Micah, the best recruit the Tech has ever had.
Rating wise, you're going to have to show me. Hey, he can play. Like, I'm a big fan, but you got to play me.
Which one's better? Which one's better? Because on paper,
Litnikoff winner.
The thing is with Crab, when he came in, I agreed. Who else was in that class?
Me.
He's okay.
I
didn't want to give you credit. Come on now.
Class,
I know who was in the class.
Like, Jared Hicks, in my opinion, is the best Texas Tech receiver I've seen, in my humble opinion. Better than Crab. That's my opinion. That's my humble opinion. And
they had the best wide receiver I've ever seen wear the scarlet and black? You know who the best wide receiver I've ever seen wear the scarlet and black?
Who?
I'm talking to him right now, goddammit.
Hey, you think this is a game? This hurts, man. Hey, but you had Jared Hicks, you had Joe Fulani, you had Robert Johnson. Like, that class was
for sure.
That class, like I think that class. I'm not gonna lie, like.
And to be fair, I know what you're bringing up. My tweet, because I saw you quote tweet it.
Yeah,
I said one of the best wide receivers.
That's respectable. I mean, because like this is a great class, and I think they have good receivers. But like I think, like I'm not gonna lie, I think that Jared Hicks class was one of the best, and I do think ours was pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, I think
Crabtree was really the only guy that was productive in that.
And Eddie B, you can't forget Eddie Britton. But
I'm gonna throw shade at you every chance I get.
I was like, I saw that. I was telling myself, I said, I'm not gonna respond. Don't respond.
I knew you were gonna respond. I saw it right away. I saw right through you. I was, as soon as I sensed it, I was like, yeah, that'll get Lyle. That'll get Lyle. I knew it. I knew it from the jump.
You knew it, huh?
I told myself too. I knew it from the jump.
I debated for like 2 minutes. I was like, bro, don't do it.
Nah. There's no debating when it comes to that Bird app. I'll never call it that letter, but I'll definitely call it the Bird app forever. Speaking of the Bird app, Lyle, where can people find you on it?
Hey, man, you can find me at Coach LLEONG, and you can find the main man that CBS and ESPN is trying to steal from me on Twitter at Tell him RC.
You can find me at RCNB323. Again, you guys see the bottom ticker below right there. Just 50 new subs away from 9K. Help us get to 9K before the calendar turns to 2024. I don't think it's an unreasonable goal.
We may have to set up 10K, man. Whoever our 10K followers, man, they have to fly down here. We'll go tour the facility. We'll have to go check it out. Go eat lunch with Joey and go tour the facility.
We might just have to do that. We might just have to do it. I mean, it's not like we're the biggest Texas Tech YouTube channel outside of the university's one or anything. Oh, wait. We are. I just checked the numbers. Oh, we are. And by the way, we're the most engaging too. So there you go. He's Lyle. I'm RC. We appreciate y'all tuning in. And I'm sure I won't hear anything about my awesome takes, I say sarcastically, when it comes to the college football playoff. We'll catch y'all next time here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.